Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the all-new Ford Maverick plug-in hybrid. Before we get into this video though, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Let's talk Ford Maverick, the affordable everyman small pickup truck that can be had for the low price of $10,000 to $15,000 over original MSRP. Seriously, the market's crazy on this truck because there's so much demand, but at the same time, I'm confused why anyone would pay over MSRP for a truck that's supposed to save them money. It makes absolutely no sense. But anyways, the Maverick was originally released with two different powertrains, a hybrid and an EcoBoost powertrain. Now with the hybrid, this made it so the Maverick was only front wheel drive. It was a naturally aspirated 2.5 liter four-cylinder paired to a CVT automatic and a 1.1 kilowatt hour battery pack. And I tested this truck at the beginning of the year and I was able to average about 40 miles per gallon, which is super impressive, especially considering the fact that this thing has a truck bed. Now the other powertrain, which is the one that I frankly recommended a bunch because it was a lot more fun, is the EcoBoost powertrain. It's a turbocharged 2-liter four-cylinder and it's all about horsepower and torque. It still gets pretty decent fuel economy, not nearly as much as the hybrid, but still pretty solid. Now the big thing about the EcoBoost is you could have it with all-wheel drive, which is a huge upgrade over the front-wheel drive Maverick. And frankly, the Maverick that I saw most commonly coming through the dealership in terms of people taking delivery of was the EcoBoost all-wheel drive with either the XLT or the Lariat and the FX4 package, but maybe that's just because I live here in Utah and a lot of people like to do outdoorsy stuff and also need all-wheel drive because of the winter. Regardless, the Maverick is sold out either way, and so Ford knows this is a very popular pickup truck thing, whatever you want to call it, and so they need to add additional powertrains to increase the scope, even though the scope is apparently bigger than what they can produce at this point. So Ford is working on a plug-in hybrid for the Maverick, which on the surface sounds pretty impressive. So it's going to be all-wheel drive, unlike the base model hybrid. And if you guys are wondering why Ford didn't come out the gates with this plug-in hybrid, it would kind of confuse buyers because they would have to choose between three different powertrain options. Two of those would be hybrids, one would be plug-in, one would not be plug-in, and just lots of stuff would be happening. And I think that it would actually hurt Ford sales with the initial launch of the Maverick and not help. The fact that they launched it was just two different powertrains for two different demographics just made everything a lot more simplistic overall. So, specs on this powertrain. Now, we don't have official specs from Ford. We can just guess based on what Ford already has, which is a plug-in hybrid for the Ford Escape, which is basically a Maverick without a truck bed, or you could say a Maverick is an Escape with a truck bed, whichever way you want to go. And that has a naturally aspirated 2.5 liter four-cylinder paired to a much beefier battery pack, 11.2 kilowatt hours, so that's like 10 times what you have with the normal Maverick hybrid that we can get right now. And so, like I said, this will give the Maverick all-wheel drive, and it'll also give it an electric driving range of at least 30 miles, which is very impressive. I mean, that's pretty much at the upper end of a lot of these plug-in hybrids right now. A really good plug-in hybrid that I reviewed this year is the Volvo XC60 Recharge Extended Range, and that has like 35 miles of range. And so being able to get a plug-in hybrid in a Maverick that has similar range to a $70,000 luxury SUV, I think is quite impressive. Now, from a fuel economy standpoint, it's definitely going to be higher than what you have in the regular Maverick hybrid being a plug-in hybrid. I mean, if you plug it in every night, then your fuel economy is infinite because you're not using any gas, and right? I mean, as long as you don't go beyond the range, right? But that being said, it's safe to assume that it's going to be at least 40 miles per gallon in terms of actual fuel economy. You'll see a lot of sources quote the MPGE number. I hate when places use the MPGE number for cars because that's not what's going to end up showing on the dash. What's going to show up on the dash with this is probably going to be at least 40, well, we know for sure 40 miles per gallon, but probably more realistically 45 to 50 miles per gallon. Again, depending on how often you charge, how long your commute is, how much you use the engine, right? There's so much that goes into these plug-in hybrids, which is why a plug-in hybrid for the Maverick is so awesome, because it gives people so much more versatility compared to the regular hybrid. The fact that you can charge it overnight and basically do your day-to-day commuting without having to use any gas is a big plus. Now, you guys are probably wondering what packages this is going to come in, and Ford probably will still do like a base model with the plug-in hybrid, because it seems like Ford's really trying to push like the commercial use of the Maverick, which is kind of strange to me, but I'm sure it makes sense for some businesses where they don't want to buy, you know, a big, even like a mid-size truck, right? Maybe even a mid-size pickup truck is just too big because maybe their business is located in a really dense urban area where having something the size of the Maverick just makes complete sense. So they'll probably still have a base model version with the plug-in hybrid, probably. We don't have any confirmation on that. And then you'll have like a middle-of-the-line XLT and then Lariat as well. And frankly, what this new plug-in hybrid powertrain is going to do is, again, it's going to expand the amount of buyers that are interested in the Maverick, because now people that wanted a hybrid Maverick but were waiting for something to be all-wheel drive, well, now you have an all-wheel drive hybrid Maverick. Now let's talk about availability and pricing with this new plug-in hybrid Maverick. So in terms of availability, with Ford's track record of just releasing vehicles like crazy and then ultimately not really delivering them to customers in a timely manner, we're probably going to see something on this for the 2024 model year. The 2023 lineup for the Maverick has already been released with a new package, which is the Tremor Maverick, which, yeah, I never thought that would happen, but it is actually happening, which is pretty interesting. And so it's pretty safe to assume that this is not going to be a 2023 model year vehicle, but 2024, I think it looks pretty likely. So what we'll most likely see is that we'll get an announcement sometime this year or potentially next year that Ford is going to be officially releasing the plug-in hybrid Maverick, and they'll tell people, hey, go and put your pre-orders, and then deliveries will probably happen sometime in 2023 towards the end or potentially the beginning of 2024. And I just don't expect there to be a lot of deliveries with all the delays Ford has had over the last few years. I mean, there are people that have pre-orders for Broncos that were put when the Bronco was initially announced over 2 years ago, and they still haven't gotten a Bronco. So that's just got to set your expectations there. And so you'll probably see a few of these out in the world, but you probably won't see more until the 2025 to 2026 model year, when Ford hopefully has production ramped up on most of their vehicles where they can actually keep up with orders. Now, from a pricing perspective, this is where things get a little bit dicey. So it's for sure going to be more expensive than the regular hybrid Maverick because it's ultimately a more premium powertrain, so it makes sense that it's going to cost more than the traditional hybrid. But is it going to cost as much as the EcoBoost? I'm not exactly sure. I think that there's two different routes that Ford could go. They could slot it right between the hybrid and the EcoBoost powertrain is kind of like your middle of the line powertrain, or frankly, they could make it as expensive as the EcoBoost or even more expensive than the EcoBoost, because the customer that's going to buy a plug-in hybrid Maverick is not the same customer that's going to buy an EcoBoost Maverick. I mean, I know it sounds crazy because it's the same vehicle, right? But two completely different customer bases. Someone who buys an EcoBoost Maverick is basically someone who wants the Maverick to have some power and, you know, maybe they want to have some fun with it and they don't want to have to worry about battery packs or anything like that. Whereas someone who's going to buy a plug-in hybrid Maverick is someone who, again, ultimately wants a plug-in hybrid. That's a big thing, that they're willing to take the jump over into having something that isn't quite an EV, but it's almost getting there, right? Because, again, you can drive it with not using any gas whatsoever and charge it overnight. Just completely different ownership experience versus just going up and filling it up at the gas station. And like I said, there's going to be two completely different driving experiences because you've got a turbocharged engine versus a naturally aspirated engine with a CVT and a hybrid system. The plug-in hybrid will for sure be faster than the current hybrid Maverick, but it's not going to be as fast as the EcoBoost. And so again, yeah, there's going to be a big differentiation. So the point that I'm trying to make here is Ford will probably price it either maybe in between, as much as the EcoBoost or potentially more than the EcoBoost. And frankly, I don't think the pricing matters too much. I know that is a weird thing to say, but people that are going to buy the plug-in hybrid are going to buy the plug-in hybrid. Now, in terms of competition for this is something that I really want to touch base on. There is none, and that is something that's crazy about the Maverick. Now, I know some people might bring up the Hyundai Santa Cruz, but that little pickup truck thing is a lot more expensive than Maverick. A fully loaded Lariat EcoBoost Maverick with every single option, and obviously this is before the crazy market adjustments that have been happening, is $37,000, whereas the Hyundai Santa Cruz is like $5,000 more, and it's just not as capable as the Maverick. The bed is smaller, and it has a dual clutch with the more premium powertrain. it's a cool little truck SUV thing, but it's just not as utilitarian as the Maverick. And so the Maverick really is a class all of its own, and this is Ford kind of getting a little bit more market domination on just, you know, plug-in hybrids and frankly electric vehicles as well. This is kind of just another, I guess, nail in the coffin of Tesla. And I'm not saying that Tesla is going to die anytime soon, but this is another affordable, it's not a full-on EV, but it's a plug-in hybrid that's going to be, you know, ultimately affordable. And this is something that Tesla has said they're going to release for the longest time as some sort of affordable battery-powered vehicle, and they just haven't done that. And so, yeah, just another big push for Ford. So we'll see what happens with things long-term, but I also think that this is frankly a lot more palatable for most people, because going from a regular internal combustion engine car to a plug-in hybrid is a much easier jump to make than going from an internal combustion engine car to a full electric car. Let me know what you guys think about the new hybrid, well, plug-in hybrid Maverick. And with that being said, I'll see all of you in the next video.